If you have ever felt overwhelmed and tired and burnt out and like you're doing all of the right things and nothing's working, and so you must be broken, and no matter how much you do and learn and practice and try, it just doesn't feel like it's working, and you're still feeling out here, you're still feeling just completely depleted, and your moods fluctuate from desperation to despair, this could be a conversation for you. You aren't broken. Your mind isn't broken, and your nervous system isn't broken. It is beautifully adapting to protect you. And what you really need right now is not more tools. It's not more practices or necessarily more vitamins or workouts or songs or affirmations. What your system may be longing for right now is purely safety. And I wonder if you sat for a moment, how safe does your system feel? Do you feel secure? Whether that's emotionally, mentally, spiritually, financially, in this physical world that we live in. How comfortable do you feel? Do you feel like you can sit down and not check out and scroll through social media or binge watch a show or doom scroll the news? Can you just relax and breathe and exhale? Does the concept of that, even the suggestion, make you a little uneasy? Then that's the place to start. For a very long time, I was in a position of doing all the things. I was working, I had a career, I had my family that I was taking care of, I was meditating, I was reading the self-help books, I was exercising. And the more I did that was supposed to be the right things, because that's what the experts were telling me, the more I felt hopeless. Like, there must be something wrong with me, because if these are all of the things that I'm supposed to be doing and I'm still feeling overwhelmed and I'm still feeling like I'm spinning and I have no control over my life, then I must be broken. And that is purely not the case. Our nervous systems, there's a lot of talk right now about nervous systems, and rightfully so. Our nervous systems are intelligent, they are adaptive, they are absolutely fascinating, to me at least. But that doesn't mean that you need to study them. That's another misconception. If I have all of the mind food and I'm learning about all of the things, then I must be able to get to this point if I know about it. But it's not about knowing more, and it's not about doing more. Your system has to come to a place of stability and safety to stop pushing. You can't push your way into alignment. You can't force your way into comfort. It would be like if you were about to jump off a waterfall and your entire system saying there's something not safe about this. For someone to push you over that waterfall, while it would get the job done in the sense that you are no longer on top of the waterfall, your system's not going to feel safe. You might not trust that person to stand behind you when you're near a cliff or a ledge ever again. And you are that person. You are pushing yourself because the system, society right now is telling us we need to do, you need to fix, you need to keep going, you need to push and grind and achieve. And, sleep is for the weak. And there's so many really, really detrimental statements and mindsets. And we take on these beliefs because our systems are trying to protect us. They're trying to make sure that we don't support or prove right all of the people that hurt us when we were growing up. We watch the world around us and say, I never want to experience that. So our systems are constantly working to prevent that. But in doing so, we're putting on band-aids. We're pushing ourselves forward. And we're not taking the time to settle. To let ourselves yawn and say, I am tired. I don't need coffee right now. I need a nap. Even if it's 5 minutes. To say, I don't need to be defensive right now. I need for the person that I'm talking to who's on my team to be willing to see me because I'm not trying to sabotage the situation. I need to feel comfortable putting up boundaries to take care of myself, not to avoid. There's so much that's counterproductive to the safety of our systems. And we're told in these practices that bubble baths will solve it, or walking or meditating. And I can tell you one thing that I know both in my practice, personally and professionally. If you're not feeling safe, then breathwork, meditation, sometimes even yoga, these practices where we're advised to quiet down and close our eyes and sometimes even focus on our bodies when we've spent years running away from those things, it's not going to feel supportive. It's not going to feel nurturing. It's not going to feel refreshing. It can be a little anxiety ridden. So when I notice the gurus isn't the right word, but the leads in these fields of self-development and self-improvement, and they're saying, imagine what you want, who you want to be, imagine what you want to look like, imagine how you want to dress, imagine having $1 million and all of these things, and then be that person. Well, I'll tell you one thing, that's all well and good, but if your system was programmed, because that's what our systems do. Our nervous systems, our brains are wired. The neurons are working together to make sense of the world we're living in. So if we've taken on messages that it's not safe to dream, that we're not safe in our bodies, that we have all sorts of limiting beliefs, if that's what our system is programmed with, how can we imagine what it'll be like to live, I don't know, in Malibu and sip Mai Tais next to the ocean all day and, laugh and love and feel secure? Our minds might be able to picture it a little bit, but to really embody it enough to actually manifest it, you have to be able to feel it. And for it to feel safe, and for it to feel in alignment. We cannot align without safety. We cannot sit in a space of who we are at our highest and best selves if us right now is not feeling safe. When a baby is learning to walk, we don't push it along. We let them feel safe, first in pulling themselves up. And then we celebrate them and we nurture them and we make sure they know that we're here still. They're not on their own. And when they've gotten comfortable pulling themselves up and they start teetering along the edge, still holding on, we don't force them to take their hands off. Their systems are getting acclimated to the next step. So when these people in the field, these self-development, beautiful people, and they all have wonderful intentions, and I have so much respect for them. But they're usually teaching 5 steps ahead of where somebody is if they have had a history of struggle and instability. And it might not even be, there's talk of like capital T and lowercase t trauma, because we all have trauma, whether it's really, and I don't want to use the wrong words here, I'm trying to be as sensitive as possible, but whether it's really harmful to us, whether we were, abused emotionally, physically, however, or if we've been through war, or we've experienced food scarcity. Maybe our family was incredibly loving, but they didn't have a lot of money, and so we didn't have food. And that trauma to our systems, that uncertainty, would be considered a lowercase t trauma. But our systems don't know any different. Our systems know that in that moment we were unsafe and life might not provide for us. And so we overcompensate and we try to protect ourselves. And then we spend so much time learning and ingesting without integrating any of it. Our minds race a million miles a minute while we're trying to go to sleep. We might wake up with panic attacks. We might just not be able to take a walk without music on or sit in silence, because without those distractions of what's happening not only around us but inside of us, it can be very scary. But it doesn't mean that you're broken. And it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you either. These conversations don't get had enough. We tend to feel isolated, like we're the only ones going through this. And to some degree that's true. You are the only one having your exact experience, because even if you were raised, there's actually a study or a story of twin brothers who were identical twins, raised in the same way, in the same household, for all intents and purposes. Maybe different things were said because they developed differently. As they experienced their external world, their systems took on stories and interpreted things differently. And so, even though they were theoretically raised the same way, fed the same food, one became a CEO and the other went to prison and had a series of very unfortunate events in their life happen. And when they were interviewed and asked, why do you think you turned out this way? Why do you think this was the result of your life? They both answered, if you had seen the way I was raised, you would know I had no other choice. And I feel like that's incredibly powerful. Perception is our reality. It may not be somebody else's reality. They may look at that and say, oh, that's small potatoes. No big deal there. What are you crying about? But your system is handling it differently, and that is valid. There is so much respect to being able to witness what your system is saying, how your system is experiencing it, and saying, this is true for me, and I can take control. You're not broken, but you also don't have to stay here. You just maybe don't want to start on the 5th rung of the ladder. If you're feeling unsafe, it starts with safety in our body. And that looks different for everyone. And the time frame looks different for everyone. We get into this mindset of 4-week challenges. I'm going to disappear for 6 weeks and we emerge this entirely different person. And really, we're just putting on more masks. But wouldn't it be beautiful? My intention. Wouldn't it be beautiful if we could exist in a world where without the masks, we can acknowledge that we're all human and support one another in those experiences, to say that your truth is just as valid as mine, and while I don't need to change to cater to you, I can alter the way that I interact with you to make sure that you feel safe, while you're also doing the work to make sure you're safe. Because safety and validation do not come externally. They don't. We may think they do. We may sit and say, if my partner only did this, then I would feel. But those feelings that you're feeling right now without your partner doing that are going to be there regardless, because that's an internal story that your system is going, oh, see, that's why this is happening. It's me, it's my fault. They're not treating me the way that I want to be treated. And that's because I don't deserve it. That's because there's so many things that our brain can just run away with. But you're not broken. This is so normal. And the more we talk about it, the more we can be vulnerable with each other and have human experiences, the more the temperature and the climate and the charge around everything can slow down, can lower to a simmer of warmth and juiciness. And, for some people, safety in a moment or relaxation in a moment might look like a bath or a walk or a massage. But safety is also not struggling to feel like you can't buy groceries. To be able to open the fridge and say, I do have something to eat. Safety is knowing that you can walk without your body hurting, that you can go to sleep without fear of harm, that you can be vulnerable with a loved one. Safety comes in a lot of forms, and it starts with you. And moreover, it starts one step at a time. My recommendation, if you would like it, is just sit with the breath. Start there. To be able to sit and experience the temperature coming in your nose, how your chest and your belly expand, how your shoulders soften when you exhale. To be able to listen to your body when you're about to walk somewhere or try a new food and your body says no. Is it saying no out of fear and uncertainty? Is it saying no because there's an actual danger? Regardless, there's a no there, and that deserves to be honored. We are not perfect. We are going to make mistakes, and it should feel safe to make a mistake. That's how we learn. To be able to say, I think this is what I need or what I should do right now. And man, that wasn't the right thing. I didn't say what I meant to say. I didn't communicate in a way that I meant to communicate. What was taken from my words was not the intention that I had, and I'm sorry that I came off that way, whether it was my body language or maybe it was your triggers. Or maybe it was my tone, because part of me really is actually defensive right now. To be able to look at the world with curiosity and not hold everybody to such high standards. Now, there are high stakes things in the world. If you do something wrong, something bad can happen. And sometimes that fear of the absolute worst case scenario will stop us. So before we get too far ahead of ourselves and end up living under a rock because we're afraid of making all the wrong decisions, letting yourself breathe, letting yourself know, your body know that it's safe to take a breath. You're not something to fix. You're somebody to listen to love, to have compassion for. And the more you can give that to yourself, the more others will respect you and give that to you. And if they don't, you'll know that from a place of security, it may be time to part ways. And it won't feel so scary because you'll be able to honor their path without the fear of what that says about you. So, before we end our conversation today, if you feel comfortable, give yourself a hug. Let yourself know that you're okay. One step at a time, everything will be okay. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow or in a week, but with each step you take and pause to really digest and understand it, not just in your mind, but in your entire body and system down to a cellular, atomic level, things will work out exactly how they're meant to. That doesn't mean they're all sunshine and rainbows. That doesn't mean that there's not struggle and heartbreak. But those are all beautiful lessons that we get to experience. We have the gift of this life to experience the highest of highs. And with that come very low lows. But it gives us perspective. So if something inside of you resonated, if something in you felt like you needed this hug from me or yourself, to acknowledge that you're not broken, you're not something to fix, you are a being in development. And today, you get to choose what the smallest action is to ground and feel safe. I'll be doing another conversation on grounding specifically and what it means and what it doesn't mean. So, if you feel so called that you would like to stay, by all means, you're welcome to. And while I thank you for your time, I also want to honor you and thank you for taking your time for yourself to witness a new perspective, to sit for the next 30 seconds to a week, however long your system needs, to let yourself know just how valuable you are. I honor you from the depths of my heart. Thank you.